Hello and welcome back once again to Patrol Gripply's Top 5 Most Wanted for LEGO Legacy Heroes Unboxed. Today's theme we will be covering is Castle. Now there'll be lots of interesting ones in this video for those who are not very familiar with the Castle theme in LEGO. There's lots of odd ones here you wouldn't expect to be classified as Castle, but are by LEGO, and expect to probably see most of those up here, because I really like some of those really odd ones. And I also will try to do ones that are not yet in the game, as much as I would like to see some more minifigures from some of the themes already in this game. I would prefer to have a little bit more variety and have more themes represented, so I'm not really going to include them. They might be here in an honorary mention, but I'm not going to include those for this video. So, honorary mentions, we have, biggest one to me is Nexo Knights. I really like Nexo Knights. It is not considered a castle theme by LEGO, although it also is like big enough. I feel like it can be put on its own, a little bit like Ninjago. Ninjago is not considered like a ninja theme. It's its own thing. I feel like Nexo Knights kind of fits in that category. I feel like it was long enough and big enough. But I think they'd be really cool to have in this game. Have some techie castle figs. Of course, they actually got the tag of castle, but I think that would add some cool variety, have lots of cool enemies that you could add into the game as well. They had some really cool designs and could have some really cool abilities. Next up we have, I believe his name was King Richard. He was the first King minifigure that LEGO released that came with a crown. I think they had some other kings beforehand, but they weren't as easily noticeable as the one with the crown is, at least in my opinion. I personally probably would have picked him to be used as the king in this game because he has a little bit more of a prominent role in the history of LEGO Castle, even though I am a big fan of Brutus and really like him being in this game because he is probably my favorite LEGO king. I think he would have been another solid choice. He was originally on this list, I remembered another theme that is actually part of Castle that I had forgot was actually part of Castle that I decided to include instead because I like them a little bit more. Lastly is Cedric the Bull. Knight's Kingdom is already in the game, even though Princess Storm, I like her. I don't know if she's maybe the best representation of it, but I never really got super into it. Really who stands out the most to me from that is Cedric the Bull. I think he's a really cool looking villain, kind of like classic barbarian, Hunnish type design there, and just leads a gang of bandits. I think he could have been a cool villain to have had in this game. Somebody a little bit different, but due to Princess Storm's inclusion, I kind of ruled him out, even though I think he would be an excellent addition at a later date. And then finally, we have here is just one of these Dragon Knights from the Kingdoms line. Currently, Kingdom already has a representative in this game with Verda, who I might like Verda. I don't think she was a good representation of the Kingdoms line. I think they had much cooler minifigures. Myself, I would have chosen one of these Dragon Knights that had a really cool design. I like the dark green and whatever kind of shade of gray that is for the helmet. Is it gunmetal? Light gunmetal. Really like the flails they had. Just some of like the cool big weapons, like any of those two on the left, or anybody from that battle pack over there on the right. I do actually own that one. It's very cool. Just I don't know where all the figures exactly are. If y'all do want me to actually include pictures of these stuff in my own collection, do let me know because I might do that instead of trying to find some other ones. They were just all too small res, so you couldn't really see them well. But I would just like ideally any of these with the flail, but I think they do have some other cool weapons as well. It's just they kind of stand out a little bit more from the classic like swords, maybe a spear, halberd sort of thing. A flail, that's very different. Now, on to number 5. This is a person that took King Richard's spot, even though thinking back about it, I might would now put him a little bit higher. I don't know. I really kind of like the Viking minifigures, but yeah, if we have Vikings, that was actually a sub-theme of Castle at one point. It was short-lived. I think it had like 7, maybe 8 sets. The one I would include in this game, personally, was my favorite. It was the one from the smallest set, which was a Fenrir Wolf, I believe that was its name, something like that. I'm not very good with Norse mythology. He was a creature from that, but I really liked his armor here. I like his dark color scheme. I like the dark chest plate. Kind of looks a little bit darker and evil, but it's not like exactly. Well, I guess Vikings aren't the best good guys. But I think he would have been a cool inclusion. Would have probably actually included his weapons from this set with his cool blade there, which I would call a force blade because of Lego Universe, but I don't think that's what it's actually called. Maybe long blade or something, and his axe, and that would have been really cool to have him there. Probably have him as an attacker, although I might even give him an attacker with a taunt, maybe payback or a thorns or something, where he could actually summon in his shield that you have there with the spear in it, so whenever somebody attacks him, it does damage them. That might be cool to have instead of a payback skill. You give him thorns, so it just does damage, maybe even damage stealth units. Because he does have that big old shield with a spike in it. I'll also probably give him a skill where he could summon the wolf from this, or maybe even the small wyvern from the next smallest set. There's a small little wyvern dragon thing in there. Just kind of some different callbacks to different builds throughout this theme, although I could easily see making one for just this one set with just this one minifigure. And yes, of course, there are some other ones that you probably could pick from, but I just really like the ones with the armor on, and I really like the color of this one the most. And like I said, certainly would have to be an attacker. Although also to be fair, Castle has way too many taunters and tanks, so I would really be cool to see him be something different. Than I said, give him some kind of taunt thing there, but something making it a little bit different. I guess in a way, kind of like a Storm, but even more focused on attack with his double weapons and his maybe captured wolf friend. Even though there's not very friendly looking over there, but I think this would be a cool minifigure to add into the castle theme, to kind of make the theme a little bit more interesting with a figure who's very different than your standard castle fig. Next up we have the ninja line. This was another theme that was a sub-theme of Castle that was a little bit different that you probably wouldn't think of when you think of Castle. It was released, I think, late 90s, maybe 98, 97, 99. And it lasted for, I think, a little while. Had lots of interesting sets. I never was able to get any of them myself, and I think Ninjago has kind of covered my itch for some ninja samurai stuff, although it wouldn't be mine more samurai. But I think this would be a cool one to include. Get some other ninjas besides the Ninjago ninjas. Or maybe you can have a fun little cross tag between them. Maybe I'll tag them as ninjas or something. Maybe you make a team that combines some Ninjago and some ninjas. I also like there's a decent bit of samurai in this theme. And I think that would be kind of cool. And there's good and bad samurai. They're not all good or not all bad. So I think that would be kind of cool to have some of them there. You could have a ninja armored tank unit. But the one I have on the left is the Ninja Master. At top is Green Ninja. There's a couple other different colored ninjas, but that is actually a female ninja, so if they wanted a little bit more diversity, they could probably go with her, and I think it might be interesting to have 2 green ninjas or something. That'd be a fun little story interaction. Top right is Bandit Leader. I just think we could use some more villain figs in this game, and I think a bandit from an Asian area would be kind of cool. That's a little bit different than your medieval Europe bandits. And across the bottom, there's a couple different samurai, and I think one's a shogun, I think Sinbad. Not too familiar with all the lore of the ninja theme, but I think all these figs could be cool to have. Maybe get about 2, 3 of them, even though I know that's just one other theme. We probably don't need to have too many from them, but I feel like this could be a cool one to have with Castle to give them a slightly different fig. Also could fill out a little bit more of some attacker roles for the Castle, because they're a little bit heavy on tanks, although I can see you doing some cool stuff with the samurai, because those are also armored knights, just with a little bit of different style. Number 3 is the classic Castle minifigures. Personally, I always felt this game needed a straight up classic tag. Yes, we have classic space, but I feel like that should have been replaced with a classic tag. That way you could have all of the classic LEGO minifigures on the same team and get some of the same buffs. For those who don't know, these are, I believe, one of the first LEGO Castle sets the classic yellow castle, and you just had a couple different knights, and I guess the stewards or whatever. Just some of the different colors. Personally, I'd probably go with blue because I really like blue, although I think the black and white ones also look kind of cool. Probably just pick one of these actual knights and have their little like squire, not steward, I don't want to call them steward, probably assist them in some of the attacks or something, have them appear in the animation. But I think this would be cool as a shout out to the OG castle days, and would be a good way to round out a sort of classic team, which you could fit the Jens and Reed and probably Primo, because Primo is pretty classic as well. Feel something out there. For what this person would be, probably an attacker, because I mean they are just a knight. I mean, I guess you always make them another tank, but maybe a support. They could do some cool things with calling out the squire to do some stuff, do some buffs, maybe use a horse to gain some speed or something, and yes, include the brick built horses like they do have in this set. Overall, I think that would be kind of cool. Next up at number 2, we have the Forestman. This was a line that existed, and it was kind of like basically Robin Hood. You had like the good, air quotes, castle faction, and they also had a bad castle faction, and then you had this, which was kind of like neutral, and they just like stole from them. And I think this would be kind of cool. Honestly, I feel like this is what Verda should have been. The bow unit, I mean, I know these use bows instead of crossbows, but you probably could have them do some of the same stuff. Should have probably have been one of these figures, because this is a very classic LEGO theme, and is probably the go-to bow unit, a castle theme of LEGO should have. There was a couple different choices here. You had 2 different male Forestmen. One of them I think was actually called Robin Hood. It was actually named. We also had the Forest Woman. She's a little different down there. Sadly, couldn't find as good of a picture of her, but I think she could have been a good inclusion as well. If you wanted to pick a female for it, you could have went with her instead of Verda, and I still think that would have been even now a good choice, because I feel like Forestman is just very classic. It was different than like good guy castle, bad guy castle is a bunch of archers living out in the woods with different like secret hideouts and stuff. A very different kind of aesthetic than all the other themes at the time. It really stands out. Also, the one on the right over there, that is a Forestman from collectible minifigures, so you might even do some stuff if you added in some of them, give them some sort of like cross tag stuff there. Probably don't really need to have like both of them, but they were even brought back in collectible minifigure form many years later. They're that classic, so I would really love to see them in this game. Like I said, they probably have Verda's whole entire setup. You shoot with your bow, maybe shoot a whole bunch of shots, go invisible, because they were about like stealth and ambush and stuff like that. It would of course be King's Court. Probably also give them the wanted tag. I think that would be a very cool addition there, because they're wanted by all the people they've been stealing from. So kind of be cool to add them onto a wanted team if you ever could make one of those. I think we only have like 3 wanted figs right now, with Redbeard, Crook Chuck, and Highwayman. So have kind of almost like a good guy, depending on how you look at it, on the wanted team. Could be really cool. And if you're going to make them a different kit, it'd have to probably be some sort of an attacker, maybe support with some trick arrows or something kind of funny, but it'd really probably have to be an attacker focused fig. Definitely not a taunter or healer. And last up we have Knight's Kingdom 2. Now this is one I'm a little bit split on. I really like the villain, the main villain, but I also like some of the main character knights as well. They all had very bright color schemes, as you can see there. I guess the green's probably the least like garish, but the good bright red, the pimp purple, and the baby blue, I would just love to have one of them in the game, because they would just really stand out from all the other knights due to their colors. And they would probably also have to be some sort of a tank, just due to how much armor they have on them. I think that would be most fitting. As much as I want Castle to have a non-tank, I think they would work the best. But on the other hand, you have Vladek, I believe was his name, which was the main villain, the cool Scorpion Knight. But this theme also had some like not big figs, but like construction figures, kind of. They weren't bionicle, they were lots more brick based, but they had very specialized big brick pieces to make them. You see top right, that's supposed to be one of the seasons of Vladik. With that, so you could also fight them with that. I think it would be cool if one of the animations for skill had them turn into that. I only put Vladik here, but all the other minifigures had one as well. Maybe they could transform into that, either as an ultimate or just like one of the regular skills, kind of like how Garmadon summons that like giant foot from one of the mechs. I don't remember which one it is. It's kind of hard to tell, but something like that. Maybe just like powers up, they turn into that, hit somebody with a sword, maybe hit everybody with the sword, and transform back down. And that would be kind of cool. Vladik, I'd probably also have maybe as like a tank, bad guy tank, but I'll also give him the spooky tag, because he's definitely very spooky in my opinion. But would have him there, maybe also give him wanted, he's a wanted villain, I don't know, it's a little iffy there. But maybe have him as another sort of like tank for like the spooky castle team. Maybe have him be like the bad guy version of Storm, perhaps, where he's like an attacker tank, or he does a little bit more like payback stuff. Also had some cool things with catapults, so I'll probably also throw his catapult in there. Like I said, maybe he's just a completely evil version of Storm. I don't know, but these are all things I think would be cool no matter which one we got, although I'd also really like fleshing out the different villains we have in this game, and then you can make some cool villainous teams if you include more villain minifigures, so I kind of lean a little bit more towards Vladik. And I'd love to have Castle have some more villains besides just Willa and whatever side of the field Basil is on at the time. Though I also really do like the good guy figs. I would just love to have one of these garish colors out there with my King's Court Castle team. I think that would look really cool. But that is it for all that I have. I would love to know who would be your picks to include in like adding into the castle thing. What would be your top 5? If you are familiar enough, I guess, with some of the things, or if you've liked any of these. Which ones would you include? Which ones would you not include? Would you actually have Ninja and Vikings be a part of the castle theme, or would you not have them be? Because I know that is a little bit of probably an iffy inclusion for some people, because they're not really castle, but they are tagged castle by Lego, which I believe is what the main tags are, and that's why figs like Hiker, Yuppie, and Fitness Instructor aren't a city fig. It's because they are only from collectible minifigures, which is also why I stayed away from using any collectible minifigures here. Do be on the lookout for collectible minifigures castle themed video at some point in the future. But I'm just really curious what y'all would like to see, because I know Castle's one of my top themes in the game right now. Might even put them at the top, I don't know. Castle and Space is kind of neck and neck. But I would just love to see a little bit more variety, because while we do have a decently stacked Castle team and roster, there's a lots of figs there from the same theme, so you don't get as much variety, because they're all are from the same theme. So they don't have some of these different years, like a classic Castle, Knight's Kingdom 2. Sorry, Knight's Kingdom 2. We have Knight's Kingdom 1. Don't know why they called it that way, but they did. But those are my choices. I would love to hear what your choices are. This is Patrol Grippy signing off. Goodbye and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.